Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 5 of our GoLang course. In this lesson, we will cover the string data type. We have used strings before to write our code example, but in this lesson, we will explore strings a little more. For lessons, I follow an iterative process of covering a topic little by little in each iteration, while also repeating some core concepts to program our brains with repetition. First, we will go through a short introduction to strings in Go. Then we will move on to our next section, which looks at how strings work behind the scenes in Go. Then we will cover different types of strings, and finally look at some code example to solidify everything we learned. The data type string is used for text. When I say text, it covers a lot of things, from messages shown to user to error messages, HTTP responses, etc. As we move along the lessons, we will cover all of this. In Go, you can only define a string with double quotes or backticks. We will understand the difference between the two in next few slides. Zero value for the string data type is an empty string. Some old languages only supported ASCII characters, which meant the code could only cover the English language and some special characters. But as we are at a point where we are more global than ever when it comes to software application, Unicode becomes a necessity. Unicode has a code or number representation for each character from multiple different languages from around the world, including emojis. Go supports Unicode, which means it supports a ton of characters from different languages around the world, symbols, emojis. It uses UTF-8 encoding for encoding Unicode characters. Strings are stored as byte arrays in Go and are immutable. We will discuss this more after we have covered arrays in Go. Immutable means we cannot change the string directly. A variable holding a string can be updated with a new string, but you cannot update the content of a string directly. For example, by accessing its memory location and updating it. You cannot do that. Go uses UTF-8 encoding, as I mentioned before, for encoding text into bits and bytes. Encoding simply means turning characters into bytes of data or converting something from human-readable form, like text, to computer-readable form, like bytes. We discussed this before, but I will mention this again, that when UTF-8 encoding is used to encode Unicode characters to bytes, it can take from 1 to 4 bytes to store each character in memory. The data type rune is an alias for int32, but is best used to represent each character in a string, and also make a distinction between int32 data type and you trying to access a character of a string. Again, we will cover this more once we cover loops in Go. As we discussed earlier, you can create a string with double quote or backticks only. Some other languages allow creation of strings using single quotes, but Go has single quotes reserved for runes. You are only allowed to create a single line string with double quotes. You would have to use escape sequences like \n for new line or \t for tab, etc. For multi-line strings, you can use backticks. The strings created with backticks is also known as a raw string, as the way string was created is preserved. So spaces, tabs, new line, etc. inside the backtick created string are all preserved. String formatters can be used to create formatted strings. We will cover a bit of this in the coding session and cover formatters in detail in a dedicated lesson. So let's not waste any time and let's go straight to the code. Welcome to the coding lesson for strings. So as with every other lesson, first we need to create a main.go file. Inside main.go file, we will create a package main, and then func or function main. So let's first start with creating a variable myString of type string. Again, we have done this before. If I try to print myString, if I now run our program, go run main.go, you will see an empty string is printed. Zero value for string is an empty string. Now, as I told you before, we can provide a value to myString using two methods. First is by double quotes, and I can say hello world. We have done this before, right? fmt println myString, go run main.go. I'm just going to comment this out so that we can see the output better on the console, right? So as I told you in the lecture, you cannot create multi-line strings with double quotes. So if I do hello and then try to do world on the next line, the IDE is complaining, and if I try to run it, you will see the same error. Instead, what you would need to do is add a escape sequence. \n is an escape sequence for new line. So if I do fmt.println my string now, you will see it has printed onto the new line. So now we are going to use the backtick to create a new string. This is also called a raw string. Since you can see I'm adding spaces here and it's not complaining, that's because it will preserve all the spaces or anything you add here and print it out in the same way. So if I do fmt.println my string and then run run main.go, you see hello is printed here and then world is printed here. That's because there are two new lines and then there's a tab between it. So if I need to do just new lines, I have to do this. Let's change the text to something else. Welcome to GoLang course. You see it has printed it on the next line. If I add one line and remove the tab. Cool. Moving on, you can also concatenate strings using the plus sign. So if I do var first name, last name of type string, and then first name, code, last name, learn. To create the full name using first name and last name, we can concatenate strings. So the way to do it is var full name, which is a string. Full name is equal to first name plus a space and then last name. Now if I do fmt.println full name, now if I run our program, go run main.go, you will see code and learn printed with a space. But a better approach to concatenating string is using formatters. So fmt, which is a package provided by the standard lib, has functions like printf, sprintf. Wherever you see printf, that means it's asking for a formatted string. I won't go deep into formatting strings for this lesson. We will do a dedicated lesson for formatters once we have covered the types. So basically I'm saying %s is a string placeholder. So the first %s will be replaced by first name, and then I do last name. The second will be replaced by last name. We can comment this out, or I can comment all of this out and then do go run main.go. You can see code and learn is printed, but since we use printf and not print line, it didn't add a new line to the end. So if we wanted to add, we can do \n. Now if we run the program with go run main.go, you will see code and learn printed. Instead of printing, you wanted to save the formatted string into the full name variable, you can do fmt sprintf and then do the same thing that we did. So I'm just going to copy and do there, and I will comment this out. And if I do fmt.println full name, let me remove this, and if I run the code now, you will see code and learn printed. Cool. So that's it for our coding lesson. Don't worry if something is confusing, please feel free to ask. I will respond to your questions as soon as I can. And again, I will keep on repeating these concepts slowly throughout the future lessons. And slowly, once we keep on practicing this over the time, you will get a hang of it. You will start getting the gist of it and you can code on your own. So this is just an little introduction to strings, and in the later sections we will cover strings a little more and also build projects that will go over strings or do problems that will go over strings so that you have a proper hang of strings. Thanks for watching this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our Discord server or leave a comment below the video, and I will be happy to revert back. Thanks again. Happy coding.